Hello, this is Niswander, and welcome to the Nowman Show. Trevor Lawrence is a Jamaican-born, world-acclaimed musician and artist known most as a saxophonist, songwriter, arranger, and producer, working on stage and in the studio with the Paul Butterfield Blues Band, including Woodstock in 1969, Marvin Gaye, Stevie Wonder, the Rolling Stones, the Pointer Sisters, Etta James, John Lennon, Ringo Starr, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. He also wrote I'm So Excited, if you remember that, by the Pointer Sisters. He fronts his own group, the Trevor Lawrence Quartet, TLQ, featuring Pop Star Masumi, exploring even more creative musical directions with keyboard virtuoso and, of course, artist Masumi Yamamoto. Ric, Doc, and Willfred Wolf Wilson are two of the four Wilson brothers who, along with Carlos and the late, great Louis, created Mandrill in 1968, an American multi-genre band formed in Brooklyn. The brothers were born there and also grew up in Brooklyn. Their songs have been sampled by many hip-hop acts, such as Johnny D, Public Enemy, DJ Shadow, and more. They combine funk with many other styles such as Latin, salsa, rock, blues, and soul, and continue to perform. Their next album is slated for release in 2018, celebrating 50 years. Amazing. Gentlemen, welcome to the Nowman Show. It's a pleasure to have you here with you. To be here with you.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, my pleasure. We'll start with Trevor. Trevor, you play saxophone.
Yeah.
And you play all types of saxophones? Or?
Yeah. Well, you know, the saxophone. It's the fingering is the same for all of them. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I was around 20. I started doing sessions in New York as a musician. So I also played the oboe and the English horn.
Oh, wow.
And the flute. And yeah, I did play now I only play this. Now I concentrate on the saxophone, tenor and soprano.
Tenor and soprano.
That's what I play.
So, when you were in New York, obviously you worked on some Stevie Wonder albums there.
Oh yeah. I worked with Stevie. I played on, let's see. I met Stevie right before he did Music of My Mind.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, and so I worked on. You know what I used to do? All of my life, whenever I got a chance to hang out in the control room in the studio, I did it. I started off doing that in around 1968 when I was doing sessions in New York. King Curtis got to know me and he really liked me, so he had me on his dates, and he'd invite me to hang out after the session. So I'd be in the control room with all the great engineers and Stevie Wonder, So, yeah, I like being in the studio. I like hanging out, and Stevie allowed me to hang out with him in the studio when he was making his records. Music of My Mind was the first one, that I worked with him on.
And then after that was Talking Book.
That's right.
And Intervisions.
Intervisions, right, and then Songs in the Key of Life.
Songs in the Key of Life. Yeah, that's right. So that's you in the horn section then.
Yeah, that's
Sir
me.
Duke and.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right. It was very funny about that, because I wasn't in the band full time.
Yeah, yeah.
When I first started with him, I was playing with him. I was traveling with him in Europe when they did Superstition. I think that he started writing Superstition there. We did the horns when we got back. And I moved to California in '72, and I wanted to be just a producer. Back then, being a producer was a very unique thing. It's not like now everybody's a producer.
Right, exactly.
So I came here to be a producer, and what would happen is that when Stevie had something to do, he had his regular band, but he'd call me to come and join him with the band,
Yeah,
and it would always be at 2:30 or 3 in the morning, because Stevie's blind, so the time don't matter to him.
He doesn't know, right?
We need you to come down here. Okay.
Wow. Well, the creative process just works any time of the day. There's
especially for him.
It's not an 8 to 5er, right?
People, I don't know if people realize that at that time, that particular time, around 1972, 71, 70, Stevie, I think that might have been his most creative time, because that guy, he'd go in the hotel room and they'd bring his keyboard and everything into his room.
Yeah.
So he was always creating. Always creating.
Yeah,
one time he even asked me he said, Trevor, I want you to sing the opening on this song. I can remember the name of the song. I think it ended up being Jim Gilstrap that sang it. I said, Stevie, I don't sing. You know, he said, no, you can do this.
Well, you can keep a tune.
No. But anyway, yeah, I did work with him. I did work with Stevie
that's
a
awesome.
lot. Yeah, I love Stevie. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now we have the two Wilson brothers here from Mandrill too. You guys, and you're kind of old friends here. How did you meet?
Trevor's family grew up right around the corner from us in Brooklyn,
In
New
Brooklyn?
York. Yes. So, you know, they were all in the same area.
Oh, so you were in the actual same neighborhood, like
Yes,
in the
right.
block even.
That's right.
Wow.
I think Rick.
Yes.
Yeah, you know Ricardo.
Yeah.
Ricardo and me, we're the same age, and we went to junior high school together.
Right.
Really?
Yeah,
Yes.
we were in the same class.
Wow.
We were in this,
Yeah.
and we had our first band together called the Sharp Tones.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, right. And you know, I haven't seen Ricardo in 60 years. I just saw him again for the first time in 60 years a couple of weeks ago. Maybe about a month ago now, right?
Major reunion.
Yes, it is.
that's
It was
fantastic.
amazing. You know, I was sitting out there. As a matter of fact, Masumi had just come back from a meeting she had with some people in Ohio, and so I picked her up to go home, and she likes to eat Jamaican food. So we went to a restaurant, which is right there on.
Degnan.
Degnan, right.
Degnan.
And so I'm in there, and it was a round table like this, and I was sitting there, and it was just uncomfortable where I was. So I moved over, and then I looked up, and there he was. It was like he fell out of the sky. It was the most amazing
Yeah.
thing.
Well, you know, everything happens for a reason.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
this
time.
happened
It
for a
was
great
time for
reason.
it. Exactly.
That's right, exactly.
You know?
That's why living in the moment, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you realize something's happening here, so
Yes.
seize that
Yeah.
moment.
You know, we
very true.
grew up in Brooklyn. We grew up in Brooklyn in the 50s, right? As a matter of fact, I moved to Brooklyn in 1953. Is that right?
And we were born to, yes, Trevor came from Jamaica to
Yeah.
Brooklyn in '53. The Wilson brothers were born in Panama.
Panama, right.
And came to Brooklyn, at least Lou and I, and came to Brooklyn in the same year that Trevor did, 1953.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then 2 years later,
Carlos and I came
Carlos
up
and
in
Wolf.
Oh, I
56.
see.
Yeah.
I see.
so that was the nice.
Bed-Stuy.
Yes.
We came to Bed-Stuy, and we had an amazing time together. Trevor and I, same class as he said.
And the Sharp Tones.
The Sharp Tones.
What did you play in the Sharp Tones?
We played. Well,
Trevor, Barbara Ann. Are you kidding?
no, it wasn't that. It was, but we started in junior high, well, elementary school and junior high school. The beautiful thing about it is that they had music in the schools. They had instruments in
Yeah.
the
That
schools.
was a good.
That's right.
So,
Yes.
you know, I started at PS 54, which is right across the street from where Trevor lived, just around the corner from our house on Marcy Avenue. But I started playing clarinet in elementary school. I wanted to play the sax. They didn't have a sax, so I
Yeah.
played the clarinet. And then when we went to junior high school, and Trevor was in junior high school, they had a tenor. They had a brand new instrument.
All brand new.
So I jumped on the tenor sax.
And I played the
Trevor
baritone.
jumped on the baritone.
I started on clarinet as well.
You started
in
clarinet
high school.
too?
Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
But
so-
just
Wow.
continuing the Sharpstone story,
Yeah.
we had three other people. We had Michael Ercolano, Italian guy on alto sax, Jim Brown on bass, who ended up serving time in Vietnam, like our brother Carlos. Carlos
wow.
Wilson did.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then we also had Barry Lynn, a drummer. He was our drummer. So that made up the Sharptones, and we were doing some interesting things. We played the St. George Hotel. We played at proms,
Yeah.
and we thought we were hot stuff.
Big
back in
band.
the
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
big band.
Well, for what you were doing, you were hot.
Well, they had our
Sometime.
pictures. They had our
Yeah.
pictures in the entrance of the school. When you got to school, they had our picture in the Sharptones
Yeah.
right in
Oh,
the front.
really?
We thought, wow, success.
Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic.
Except that, you know, the thing about it is that he went to Harvard. So we were all there. All of
Oh,
us
that's
were there.
right.
And this is the smart guy, you know.
Yeah.
He's the guy that ended up being the brain guy.
Well, that actually, we call him Doc, but there's a reason why he actually is a
He's a-
doctor.
he's
He's
a
a
heart surgeon.
cardiologist. Yeah.
Well, we all went our separate ways. The
Yeah.
beautiful thing, what I'm excited about, and
Yeah.
I don't know how much time we have here, but I'm excited about the course that we've taken. We always knew that Trevor was going to be a professional musician. He didn't know it in the beginning, but he spent so much time playing music. He never, his saxophone always was with him.
With
Yeah,
you,
yeah.
carrying
You
it
know,
everywhere
and
you went.
my brothers and I always knew that Trevor was going to do something professionally in music, and that's what he ended up doing.
Yeah.
And after junior high, and we went our separate ways. But we always heard about Trevor Lawrence. We heard about him, playing with Stevie Wonder. We heard about him doing playing with the Rolling Stones.
Rolling Stones.
We
yeah,
never got
yeah.
together again, but we
Yeah.
knew he was doing great things in high places. And then we went on to do our own thing.
did
The
your
Wilson
thing.
brothers and Mandrill did our thing, always knowing about Trevor Lawrence. But then 60 years later, at the Barbara Morrison Performing
Right
Arts
together,
Studio,
yeah.
that's where I was.
Oh, yeah.
We get together again,
Lehman Park,
and
yeah.
it's beautiful to have a
Incredible.
reunion. So,
Yeah, it's
almost
fantastic.
Like it's almost like we were together the whole time.
You know, like
Yeah, well, it's like time stands still, right?
yeah,
when,
yeah.
when you see people
amazing.
years and
Yes.
years later.
Yes.
Well, Wolf, you said you played the clarinet. No, I've seen you just mainly played percussion and,
Yeah,
and sing.
but in high school I started on the clarinet, and that's
Yeah.
In fact I still have my clarinet.
You do really? Do you play it?
Yeah, now and then.
You
now
do?
and then, yeah.
Did
but
you ever listen to Glenn Miller and all that? or
Yes,
you
of
did?
course.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
kidding, you know.
yeah.
But then when I got with the group, I came from college, like in about that was I think in '69,
Mm-hmm.
and started doing some things with the brothers and stuff, and that's when because we always sang, and
Yeah, yeah.
I would always be the bass man, the
Yeah, yeah.
youngest guy with
That's
the
right.
bass voice. So I wanted to start playing the bass.
So you played bass guitar too?
Yes,
Wow,
so that's
wow.
when I did, and it became everything,
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
So you were in and out of the band. You were one of the originals from the very beginning.
Yeah, well,
right?
the
So-
group was founded by three brothers, by Louis,
Rick, and
Carlos,
Rose,
and myself. And then we had Claude Coffee Cave,
Yep.
and
Omar
on
Mesa.
keyboards, Omar Mesa
Omar,
on guitar,
yeah. Yes.
and Bundy Sinak on bass, and that was the original
The original core group.
core of Mandrill. Then beyond that, Wolf started out with us as a road manager.
Oh,
And
really?
Then, and then moved on to play bass. When we moved to California, from Polydor albums to UA albums, then Wolf joined us. but I'm really very touched, by the reunion with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, I know.
And
that's-
not only the reunion with Trevor Lawrence, the reunion with Trevor, and the ability to associate with his amazing keyboardist, Masumi
Masumi.
Yamamoto.
Yeah.
She is so brilliant.
She's very,
And-
very
and-
talented.
And it's really a blessing to be back together again, and hopefully something will come of this beyond just what we're doing right now. I really have visions of us sharing in a lot of ways.
In a great,
Oh,
in a
absolutely.
great way.
So
in a
keep
great
in there.
way.
We have a new album getting ready to drop. We'll be doing
Yes.
some touring and all of that.
That's
so
fantastic.
that may involve coming together with all of us in some way, shape, or form. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Absolutely. I mean, 50 years, that's a long time
Yes,
to
it
keep
is.
a band thing going. And
wow.
I worked in record stores, so I saw many of those covers. How can you not?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they
With
get
that
your attention,
mandrill,
the
that's right.
mandrill.
Yeah,
I'm
great-
serious,
great
you
idea.
know?
Yes, yes.
And we were listening to all kinds of music, and just, it's just amazing that you have, how many records now?
Well, this is going to be the 17th
17th.
Wow.
album.
Yeah.
And it's
fantastic.
what's amazing is that Trevor and Mandrill, we were both hanging out at the top of the food chain. I mean,
Yeah.
with when you talk about Trevor touring with the Rolling Stones,
Yeah.
with Stevie Wonder,
Yeah.
with Marvin
Playing on
Gaye,
Trouble Man.
Yes,
all
yes,
of that kind of
yes.
stuff.
Marvin
And
Gaye.
we-
Movie world.
we
you know.
share we played we've been to the top of the chain in our own way as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, we eclipsed the Rolling Stones attendance record in Washington D.C.
Wow.
At a festival that we an RFK's festival
Excellent.
back in the day, and shared the Electric Lady studio, Jimi Hendrix's
That's
first
right,
studio.
that's right. That's
I'm
right.
surprised that we didn't run into Trevor, because
Yeah.
when Stevie was recording in that studio, Mandrill, when he left, we would be in, and vice versa.
So it's,
we would be.
it's so unusual that you didn't cross paths at that
Well,
point.
we didn't at the time, but he was
Wow.
doing a lot of stuff that
Yeah.
was extremely special at the top of the food chain.
Touching
That's
on
right,
the same
that's
basis.
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's
I'll do a little
really-
exercise here and then kind of get your reaction so we can put it on camera. Paul Butterfield's Blues Band, Stevie Wonder, the Rolling Stones, the Pointer Sisters, Marvin Gaye, B.B. King, John Lennon, Ringo Starr, Etta James, King Curtis, Roberta Flack, Leonard Skinner, Martha Reeves, Joe Cocker, Harry Nielsen, Maria Muldaur, John Lee Hooker, Carly Simon, Melissa Manchester, the McGarrigle sisters, Van Dyke Parks, Leo Sayre, Country Joe McDonald, Jimmy Cliff, Ace, Burton Cummings of the Guess Who, Bonnie Raitt, John Mayall, Commodores. And that's not even the whole list.
Yeah, well, you know, I played with, and let's see, I could pick out a few of them. I played with, arranged with, you know, wrote for. You know, I always wanted to just, my whole thing about it is music. I wanted to be a musician.
Yes,
and
yeah.
back then, being a musician meant learning all about music, you know. So from the time I was probably 11 or 12, when I was 11 or 12, I met a guy named Saul Moore. This guy was he was like my mentor. He was a mentor of mine because what he did at that young age, he just exposed me to Schillinger, Joseph Schillinger, right? He had a book called Mathematical Basis of the Arts.
Oh,
Joe
really?
Schillinger is music and math, right? He really had this
Interesting.
whole thing. And so as a kid, I didn't understand the concepts and I couldn't digest the concepts,
yeah.
but I got exposed to it, you know?
Interesting.
And I realized that, well, wait a minute, you could write music as graphs because that's what they did. You know, you have the pitch and you have the linear part of it, so you could make so I started understanding that the communication between musicians is at a lot of different levels, you know.
Right,
And
that's right,
just
that's
from
right.
just
That's
from
very
knowing
true.
that, it made me interested in learning more about music, you know.
Fantastic.
I went to a couple of music schools and I studied with Hall Overton later in life. Who Hall Overton is the guy that transcribes all the Thelonious Monk's
Oh, really?
solos.
Oh, wow.
You know, Little Rudy Tooty, no, that's it. He's the arranger that does all that. And I met him, and I'd go to him and I'd take a lesson, and he'd take me stuff. Then I didn't have to go see him again for a year because it took me a year to learn all this stuff he showed me.
Wow,
You know, and so I just started, and then improvisation. Sonny Rollins was the guy that when my aunt bought me my horn, she had a Sonny Rollins record in it.
Yeah.
And so Sonny Rollins at the time, you know, talked about how you had to know music. He was very interested in
Yes.
the education about music, you know.
Yeah,
And then again, remember, we had music in schools is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
You know? Or
It's
teacher,
very-
Miss Fishback.
Absolutely.
Miss Fishback.
Oh,
Miss
really?
Fishback, you know, she taught us all the Latin words.
That's
Remember,
right.
we had to learn the Latin words, what it meant.
That's right.
And you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
and when you do that, you know, you start understanding that it's more than just playing. There's
That's
more
right.
to it. You know, the music, anything that you play, or if you drop something, any sound you make can be explained in the music. You know, we
Yeah.
can figure out the pitch of it.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a very broad thing, music. You know?
It's wonderful, the language that, you know, like that's why, you know, there's any culture
Yeah.
can tap into, they don't even have to know the language of if there's
Person,
lyrics
no,
in it.
no.
It has its own chemistry, its
Yeah, what
own
you say,
magical.
mathematically put
It's
together. yeah.
mathematical, but it also is emotional.
Yes.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's important. And speaking of, education is also important to make sure that gets exposed to as many kids as possible, because we here at this table have all had the privilege of being exposed to a lot of music growing up as kids, so we know the importance of that. So be sure you include education programs with music, please, and the arts. So important.
And just picking up on where Trevor left off, speaking of education.
Yes, yeah.
And speaking of the music teacher that we had in the very beginning, Miss Fishback, gave us a real difficult test to get into the band. Trevor, tell him.
Really? And he aced it, right?
Well, you got in there, right? So for me, what happened to me? I wanted to be in the band.
gave me the same test.
You had the same test too?
Tell him about this difficult test.
So we get in there. You know, we're little kids, you know.
Yeah, right?
I want that horn. It's shiny. I want that one. She said, "You want to be in the band?" She says, "Okay, well here." She'd get at the piano and she'd play a note up here and she'd play with it and say, "Okay, so which one is higher?"
Really?
That one. Okay, you're in.
That's right.
And that was the test. You know. So
That was the test.
That was the
great.
test. You know. In
That's
other words,
fantastic.
that was just the test. You know.
That's
So
good,
there it
that's
is,
good,
you know,
yeah,
you start getting education from there, you know.
Yeah.
At that time, you didn't think, well, how many vibrations per second is that A? How many is that A? I mean, you don't think of none of that. But you begin, as you grow into it, you learn what
That's
it
right,
is. You know?
that's right.
I really started getting into studying arranging and to learn how to improvise. Sonny Rollins was a great improviser.
Yes.
And I was always saying, well, how can they do that? You know?
Yeah.
And then you start finding out, well, you know, the chord is there and it lasts for this long, so there's certain things you could do there, and then
Yeah.
over here it's another thing. You know, back then it was more that kind of a thing
Yeah.
than just play anything.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean?
There was a structure, and
Yeah.
then it laid out the process of what you could do in improvisation.
That's right, and also form. You know,
Yeah.
form. There's a form to it.
Yep, that's right.
You have
that's
to
right.
be mathematically inclined. To
That's
do
right.
that. That's the most important, because
That-
it definitely brings all of that together in one.
We got to understand how the math works.
Yes,
with it, you know?
yes,
I mean,
exactly.
to tell the truth, anybody could learn how to play and be very proficient on their own without learning anything.
That's right.
The problem happens when you try to play with somebody else.
That's right.
You know,
That's right.
You know, that's when the
absolutely
problem
right.
comes. You know, when
Exactly.
you got more people in the room, then
There
all of
you
a sudden you gotta be able to tell them. You can't just say, "Look,
I know, right?
this is this." You know, that's
And it's also relationship
Yeah.
oriented, because that's part of the chemistry in pulling it all together. So there is unity,
yeah.
because that's how you have the harmony and the unity.
That's
and
right.
That's right.
And I'm a big fan of melody. You know, I
Yeah.
love melody as well. I mean, that's where I start.
Yeah.
I don't just like melody, but when there's a strong melody, then it really pulls me
But
in.
they all
Yes,
work together.
yeah,
Rather,
for sure.
Harmony,
Mm-hmm.
melody, and rhythm. That's the three elements.
Exactly.
You know, and the element that's passionate, that hurts, that moves people, and is the rhythm. Rhythm is the big
Beating
part of
them
it. We all
drums.
have the rhythm
Yeah,
to begin
exactly,
with.
exactly.
Then, if you got a good ear, you could hear the melody.
Right.
But if you really want to know the harmony, you got to pay a little bit of attention.
Exactly. That's right. That's right. You got to pay attention, like like on stage.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you have to listen to everybody else, and it can't just be about you. Exactly.
Exactly.
So in the creative process, how do you find yourself writing music? And you can all answer that.
Right?
Start with Rick.
It comes a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes just spontaneously.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear the melody.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you feel and hear the rhythm, and sometimes you feel them both together. Sometimes, particularly with us, the beautiful thing that we had was the brotherhood, the feedback. We would be in the same room, and someone would, even like when we play percussion, somebody would start a beat.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah,
other
that's
person,
great.
we've been doing that from we were back in the kids on
With
pots
back
and
in Panama
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
beach,
Yeah.
and we just start jamming, and that's how that creative spark started, you know. And then there are times our brother Carlos is an amazing songwriter and arranger, and has penned a lot of the initial statements for a lot of the Mandrill songs will come from Carlos. You know, he'll have brilliant ideas, bring them in and share them, and then we'll develop them and come out with an expression for Mandrill. So that's how it goes.
Fantastic. Did you participate in the writing too?
Yes, actually, like I said, when I was in high school with the clarinet, I started, playing, being first clarinet in the band was good. But when I went to college, and I started writing by listening to the vocalization
Yeah.
of some of those, bassists that were playing, and you hear the bass lines and so on and so forth, and I would hum that out and start, putting some lyrics to that. That's how I came about
Interesting.
writing and stuff, And then, of course, with my brother Los and Lou, who's another, creative monster, my oldest
Yeah,
brother
yeah,
that
yeah,
passed.
yeah,
But
yeah.
they were all creative, people that did great things,
Oh, you did amazing stuff.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
different styles of music. I mean, just all across the board. And
Yes.
I can hear the influences, as well as the totally original ideas and the things I love it when you combine things together you wouldn't ordinarily think of coming together.
Very true.
And you guys are masters at doing that.
Right on.
And it was great hearing some of the new album because
You heard the sitar.
Thank you. Oh, I love the sitar. I love it.
Sitar
A real
and funk
sitar.
music. And we've
Yeah.
had that before on some of our albums. Love the
Yeah.
sitar.
Oh, I do too. I mean, George Harrison turned me on to it, and I
Yeah,
just
okay.
love the sound of it, and I
Yes.
hear it in music, and,
Yes.
and that's the real deal.
Right.
Right.
So, we also can pay tribute to your brother Louis
Yes,
too,
yes,
and
man.
that. So that's great. Let's start with closing comments. Let's start, Wolf.
Yeah,
let's
well,
start here.
I mean, I've moved to Oakland, so
Yeah,
I'm living
yeah.
up north. But when I got a call from my brother, and he said that Trevor was. I said, Trevor, I haven't seen this man in quite a while. So that was one of the greatest things that I've heard, and
Yeah.
I came directly down because we had some work to do, and I wanted to see and say hello to my old time friend.
Wow, that's great.
So,
And it's
very
been
special.
great having you on the show.
Thank
Thank you for taking the time
Thank
out
you.
to
Thank
come
you.
today. It's great.
Yes.
And Rick,
Hi. First of all, Dan on the Nowman show.
Yes.
Really appreciate you inviting us to be here and sharing with you. And thank you for the work that you're doing on the Pasadena Media channel. And also got to give a shout out to the Smile Lady.
yes.
Who introduced
Thank you,
us.
Smile Lady.
Yeah.
And also check out the interview by the Smile Lady of Trevor and I. That was a very special segment as well. So on the Pasadena Media channel,
Yes. The Arroyo Channel.
the Arroyo channel.
Yes.
That interview will give you more information about us. But it's a pleasure hooking up again with Trevor and looking forward to the future. I think there's a lot that we're going to share together. He may not even be, like when he was a kid and didn't know that he was going to be a full-time musician, he may not know what's going to be in store right now, hooking
None
up
of
with
us do.
Mandrill,
That's right, that's right.
So Abe's back in town.
Yes.
Okay, Abe's back in town, and
Excellent.
Abe's back in town, and Trevor and Masumi.
Yes.
Yamamoto have both reconnected with us, and
Yeah.
there'll be some good things coming in the future.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Wonderful.
And Trevor.
Let's see. Well, for me, the new things are playing jazz full time, and I think that music keeps going forward, and I like to go
Yeah.
forward. I've also got a project that I'm shopping now too, which is a book about my musical life.
Oh, great.
It's right now it's 89 pages of rough draft right now, but if there's any producers or publishers or collaborators out there, I'm looking to finish this piece.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
You have an incredible story.
Well, thank you.
So yeah, it's amazing and
And I got all the details too.
yeah, exactly.
I think it's gonna be either a book or a screenplay.
So that's fantastic.
And you got to get it because
Both.
we're in it.
Yeah.
That's great. That's fantastic. So we're looking forward to all this stuff. TLQ, Mandrill's 50th anniversary and new
Yes.
album, and so much stuff. This story continues. This is Niswander. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, be present now.